Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. In today's webinar, we'll be exploring how you can leverage the WebViewer technology from Apryse to lower costs, save users time, and really to expand what's possible within your web-based application. So our agenda here today will be first to give a bit of an introduction about Apryse, a bit of a history of the company, starting off with some of our more important acquisitions, especially focusing on how you can leverage technology that was part of iText and technology that was part of PDFtron and Solid Documents and Iceni, and have it all work together as kind of a single platform within your product. So as part of that, we'll be reviewing the various features that are available across our different products, how you can get started leveraging those by downloading our toolkits from apryse.com. And then what we'll be doing is going over some different use cases. So, we'll be doing things like showing how to review documents where users can go in and make annotations collaboratively with other users. We'll show off some of the interactive editing that's possible within Apryse. That includes both PDF editing, and not just of annotations and form fields, but of the PDF page itself. But it also, with our latest release, includes the beta implementation of our docx editing. So we'll see a bit of that. And then we'll show how, in general, WebViewer SDK can be used to move server-side processing into the client side. And the advantage there is that that way, you get new computing horsepower as you add new users, and also there can be security implications of simply processing client-side documents rather than moving them over the network. So we'll go into some of those details, and then we'll have time at the end for some Q&A. So starting off with a bit of background about myself, my name is Aaron Gravesdale. I'm head of solution engineering at Apryse. I actually started at PDFtron about 10 years ago in 2012, and PDFtron was the company that ended up acquiring Iceni and iText and Solid Documents and rebranding to Apryse earlier this year. And myself and my team continue sort of the same function that we had within PDFtron, which is to work with clients who are just starting evaluating our toolkit, or maybe looking to upgrade and expand their functionality. And what myself and my team do is work with them to take a look at their requirements and see what parts of our stack and what features within our different toolkits can best apply to their use cases. Of late, due to the various acquisitions we've had, we've really been able to expand the technologies and features that we can offer different customers. So PDFtron initially began as a PDF processing company. We developed a toolkit that really covers the entire document lifecycle, which we'll get into in a bit, had interactive viewing as well. And at PDFtron, what we did a few years back was compile the native toolkit that we had developed, originally written in C++, and we compiled that over to JavaScript and WebAssembly so that it could run inside of the WebViewer, inside of a web browser, and that's our WebViewer technology. So we'll go into that in a little bit. And we find that's a very nice complement to some existing technology that our customers might make use of. So one of those technologies would be iText. So those customers of ours who are making use of iText, say on the back end, to do things like manipulate documents, maybe merge documents together or split them or add watermarks, or who are generating documents in a back-end server process. What we really find is those customers can really benefit the most from that kind of interactive technology that PDFtron brings to the table. So that'll be a lot of what we take a look at first, is seeing how we can take documents that maybe have been generated or processed using iText and then create a kind of interactive process for those users. And of course, we'll demonstrate how we can run many of those same features within the client-side browser using WebViewer SDK. In addition to that, we're going to take a look at some additional technology that we've acquired through Solid Documents, specifically the PDF to Office conversion available through that, and as well the document editing technology that the Iceni team has brought into the Apryse family. So again, what the Apryse feature set really covers is the full document lifecycle. So what does that mean exactly? Well, the document lifecycle, when we refer to that, what we're talking about is sort of documents going through each stage of a particular life. So that begins with creating the document initially. So that might mean taking some data that we have in a backend system and converting that into a document. Maybe converting from another file type like an image or HTML or text file. But it could be also creating a document from scratch. Say just creating a blank PDF page and then adding text, image, or vector content onto that page. And a lot of our iText customers actually go through that kind of process where they'll generate new documents basically from scratch. So that's one area where we can start to expand out the feature set that's available for those users. Sort of the next stage of the document lifecycle is sort of the maturation or kind of growing up stage of how one works with documents. So that could be things like taking a document that already exists and maybe merging it with another document or rearranging the pages in the file. It might mean something like optimizing the file. So maybe shrinking it through a step that maybe resamples images or downsizes fonts, or it could be something like speeding up the document's ability to be displayed within an interactive viewer by linearizing the file. And then once we've kind of built up the document for everyday usage, we can actually put it in front of end users so that they can interactively view the document, do things like zoom in and search for text, maybe fill out different form fields or add annotations. And then, after users have worked with the document, then we might be at kind of the document finalization stage, where maybe we'll do something where the document could be converted into an archiving format like PDF-A for long-term storage, or we might use redaction on the document to eliminate personally identifying or classified information so that it can be disseminated to a wider audience. At this stage, we might also do things like watermark pages so that we can see who has shared the file, or use digital signature technology to kind of detect whether it's been modified or not after a particular point. We can also do things like add security and encryption and passwords at this point, just to lock the content down a bit more. So that's the sort of document lifecycle that the Apryse feature set covers, and various technologies of ours can help out to leverage those features. So what I'll do is kind of show how you can get started running some of that in your environment by downloading the toolkits from the Apryse website. Let's start off by taking a look at apryse.com. So if you navigate to apryse.com, you'll find that you can get to all of our documentation, our community forum, and as well be able to download the toolkits. Here on our documentation menu, if we click on that, we can go to documentation for our various offerings, such as the WebViewer SDK, the Apryse SDK, and some of our other offerings as well. But let's click into the WebViewer guides. Here, what we have are getting started guides for various platforms. So, for example, depending on what kind of web framework you might use, whether that's Angular or React or some other kind of framework, we have those listed here, as well as integrations for different document management systems like, or workflow systems like Salesforce, Appian, SharePoint, etc. And then we have guides for particular use cases. Various things you might want to do with the toolkit inside of the browser, and we have these guides for all of our toolkits here. So, for example, for Apryse SDK for Linux, we have similarly some getting started guides that walk through step by step how to get going, and as well describe how to address particular use cases. So this is a great place to go and just kind of check out from a high level what's available and be able to dig into the particular details. A lot of times we'll link then to parts of our API documentation, so you can see in detail how everything works. And if you want to get a better sense of how different parts of our feature set can work together, our sample code is very helpful for that too. So we have discrete samples that we include with the toolkit ready to run that just show how to get going with different kinds of use cases. We include that inside of WebViewer as well, and we'll take a closer look at that in a little bit. But when you'd actually like to start trying out the toolkit within your environment, one way to do so is by going to our developer portal. So that's at dev.apryse.com. You'll be prompted to make an account here, but once you have an account, you can log in and download the toolkit directly. We have SDK downloads that you can use to actually get a discrete zip file. But if you'd prefer to use a package management solution like NPM, then that's possible as well. And we have particular builds for example, Salesforce. And then for our different platforms as well, for example, on Windows and Linux, we have downloads there, as well as the secondary modules that let you do some additional features. For example, if you'd like to convert PDF into Office files, that's something that we have available on Windows or Linux or Mac OS through the structured output framework. And you can find out more within the documentation. Now, to get a better idea of the full gamut of features that are available, we have at apryse.com/feature chart kind of a listing of sort of the high-level view. If you're going to fly up 1,000 feet and take a look at the territory, this is kind of what's available. So beyond kind of the base functionality of being able to view documents and annotate them and search and so on, we have different add-ons available. So being able to do things like manipulate pages, convert to an archiving format, sign documents, or detect different structures within them, OCRing files, adding security, adding features to make it more accessible, editing content directly, which we'll show in a little bit, and all of these are available within the toolkits and are things that again you can download from the developer portal to try out within your environment. Now, if you're not yet ready to actually deploy proof of concept within your environment and just kind of want to play around with the toolkit, a good way to do so is through our showcase here. And actually, most of the demoing that we're doing is going to be through this showcase application. What we'll do is just kind of go through some of the particular use cases that can really help bring your application to the next level, and sort of show these off here within our online showcase here. So the first feature we're going to take a look at is viewing of PDF documents within WebViewer SDK. Now, you might be asking yourself why that's necessary, given that browsers themselves have the ability to render PDF documents. For example, if I have a web page with a .pdf link and I click on it, what will happen is the browser will download the bytes of the PDF document into the browser's cache. And once it's fully downloaded, it will open up the document and I'll be able to view it. So what's the advantage of using WebViewer SDK to do so? Well, there are a few reasons why it's a little better viewing experience for end users to use WebViewer to render your documents rather than just downloading them and viewing them directly with the browser. So one advantage there is security. So if you're fully downloading the PDF document to disk and then viewing it, now you have a new copy of the document sitting on the client-side machine, and that could be a security risk in some cases if you're viewing a document that you'd like to keep confidential within your organization. With WebViewer, you have full control over that, so you can say whether any bytes are actually cached locally or not, and if you want to only keep downloaded bytes within the browser's memory, you can do so. There's another kind of feature that plays into all of that called linearization. What linearization is a way of structuring a PDF document. It's part of the PDF specification. It's a standard way of saving PDF documents. And what it will do when you save a PDF document as linearized is it will group the bytes of the file page by page. So at the beginning of the document, you've got all the bytes for the first page, followed by the bytes for the second page, and so on. A little bit like a streaming YouTube video. And that has a lot of different advantages. In terms of security, sort of continuing on with the ability of WebViewer to download the bytes of the PDF and just keep them in memory, that actually makes it a bit more difficult for end users to grab a copy of the document. For one thing, it's not on disk, but also if you're using linearized PDF documents, then WebViewer will consume the document chunk by chunk. And if you're moving around in the file, that means that those bytes will be downloaded asynchronously, and for end users that makes actually reassembling the file and grabbing the necessary bytes to actually have their own copy of the PDF that much more difficult. Additionally, in WebViewer, there are some ways that you can lock down the content even more. For example, if server side you apply a password to the document, like maybe you add encryption to the file and make it so the file can't be downloaded without a password, WebViewer can actually take that password, say, downloaded through a separate channel, and invisibly apply it to the document when opening it. And what that means is that for the end user, it just seems like the document is opening normally, and they're not even aware that you need a password to open the file. But if they were to somehow grab the bytes of the PDF, they wouldn't have that password necessary to open it. The other big advantage of linearization is performance. So here I'm opening a pretty small document, but as I'm opening larger and larger files, the advantages of using linearization become more evident. So for example, here I've got a 13,000 page document. And rather than waiting for the entire file to download, which probably would take a while, here we're seeing the first page open up right away. And additionally, if I jump around inside of the document, so say to the 11,000th page here, we see that I was able to open that up right away as well. And again, this is the advantage of linearization showing itself. Because we just need to download whatever bytes are needed to render whatever is currently visible on screen. That means that I can be very performant in terms of download and just very, very efficiently grab a few bytes from the server and then show content to the end user. So it's a lot less waiting and a lot less wasted time as a result. Another kind of cool part about controlling the PDF viewing experience is how much richer it can be for end users as well. So rather than just a simple viewing experience, we can actually provide annotation and collaboration, the sharing of annotations between users and the sharing of comments between them. So just starting off with looking at the annotation portion here, so we've got quite a wide variety of ways of marking up PDF content here within the browser. And rather than going over all of them, I'll sort of just show a few of the more common ones. So many of our customers will do things like add highlights or say underline text or strike through text as a way of indicating various things about the document, or they might use shapes to kind of draw boxes or circles around parts of the content. We also have support for things like multi-line tools, more advanced tools like stamps from images, signatures, approval rejection stamps, things like that, as well as measurement tools. And the ability to build new forms into the document as well. But without going into all of that, I think let's just focus first and foremost on the annotation, because that's where the biggest value can be for end users, especially folks who are working with maybe say documents that were generated server side using a toolkit like iText or Apryse SDK. Very often those users need to actually take a look at what was generated and maybe review it to see if there are any errors or anything that needs to be regenerated server side. And so this kind of markup capability is very useful for that. Additionally, every time you make a markup or annotation, there's a comment thread that's associated with it here in our comments panel. We can see that here for each of these annotations that we've added. There's a discrete sort of conversation that's associated with it here. And we can add text into there describing why we added this approved stamp or why we highlighted say this bit of text here. And additionally, we have features like the ability to add workflow stages associated with each of these as well. So if you wanted to maybe say that this is unmarked or not yet decided on, that's something that can be set, and that's really useful for communicating with other users as well. Just additionally, within our conversations, we can do things like filter by the type or status. So for example, that unmarked status, we can filter just for those. But we can also filter by the type or the user involved. So that way you can just focus on the conversations that are most useful to you as a user. And this really comes into play when more than one person is viewing the document, especially at the same time. So here in this collaboration sample, that's exactly what we're showing. We have two different browsers here. or two different web viewers rather on the same page here. But we have within each of these we set up this user as a user I believe named Ruby, if I recall. So as I highlight text, we see that yes, Ruby actually was the one creating this annotation. And here within the other web viewer, we have another user who's logged in. So let me have this user add an annotation, and we see that annotation is created with the username of Cedric, who's the user who's logged into this this web viewer instance here. And notice that as each of these users adds annotations, it appears for both users. Maybe this is just for demonstration purposes, but maybe in theory Cedric is on one side of the world and Ruby is on another, and here they can communicate in real time by sharing their annotations between browsers. The actual annotations themselves are just stored as XML, and so then we can just communicate those in whatever way works best for you. It's a web viewer leaves this very open and extensible. Here what we're doing is just passing the XML between these two instances, but most of our customers when they're implementing collaboration will do so by having WebSocket connections from the client-side browser up to a server of theirs, and then they'll grab new annotations from a client and then broadcast that out to other browsers. But that's just an implementation detail. From the end user's point of view, what's great about this is that they can see what other users are doing and comment on different issues that they have brought up. So for example, Ruby has highlighted this text here. And maybe Ruby has generated this document server-side using iText and then wants to kind of review it along with Cedric. So maybe Ruby is saying, shouldn't we reword this? So this is very common. We've generated a document based on text maybe from a database, and maybe inside of that database this bit of text is just lorem ipsum or something, placeholder text that's not very useful and that needs to change. So it's very common for our end users to want to be able to highlight text and bring that to the attention of others and enable them to review it. And in order to make that easier, we've baked in the ability to have @sign mentions as well when collaborating. So that way, Ruby can maybe try to get Cedric's attention by saying, Cedric, do you agree? And these @sign mention capabilities are also very open within WebViewer. So here it's just sort of showing up inside of this comment thread, but we could have something like a task list associated with Cedric or with Ruby, and making an @sign mention might create a new task for them within your system. And this makes it possible for somebody to kind of use this a bit as sort of workflow management and being able to keep track of different things that need to be done for this sort of document review and approval. Well, here back in Cedric's browser here, Cedric could reply to Ruby's comment, and Cedric could say, @sign Ruby, no, we'll leave it as is. And send that reply to Ruby. We see that shows up right away. And Cedric could even do something like, say, rejected. Like, I'm not going to change this text at all. This placeholder text is perfect. We're leaving it as is. So that entire kind of reviewal process, rather than taking up, back and forth emails, sort of about the document or some sort of comment that, maybe is elsewhere on the web page that isn't actually tied to the particular text that's being reviewed. Here, we're able to make annotations that are very localized and have conversations that are obviously specific to just a subsection of the document, making it much easier for different users to orient themselves about what a particular conversation is about. If you've ever used the document collaboration features of something like Office or Google Docs, this sort of review and approval kind of workflow is very intuitive for users. And then once all of the items have been approved here, then you could do things like publish the document, or maybe digitally sign it as a way of finalizing it or watermarking it or adding security and so on. All of which is entirely possible here inside of WebViewer. Beyond just making annotations or filling out forms, we actually offer deeper editing of PDF documents within the browser as well. Specifically, due to technology that we acquired from Iceni, we're able to detect paragraphs on a PDF page itself and enable the editing directly of that text. So here, for example, we have a sort of PDF text editing walkthrough. As you can see, this document has a lot of existing paragraphs and so on, as well as image content. And we can click on that and start to edit it as a whole paragraph. So we can do things like move this paragraph around, change its size, change the kind of margins within which it's operating, and change the text here as well. So if I click on Edit, I can go in and add new words into this paragraph. So I can say New Document Content, which is very convenient. So, rather than having to fully regenerate the document, what I can do is just bring it up here inside of WebViewer and directly change that within the viewer, and I can get a sense immediately of what it will actually look like in the end kind of state of things. So, and that counts for images as well. So I can move image content around or resize that or delete it. And I can also add new images. So if I wanted to stamp a new image onto the page or add a new paragraph here directly onto the blank page, I can do so. So that is very useful, I find, when not having to be able to fully download the document and use a third-party native application. Rather, I can just do this kind of editing here inside of the browser. And this also means I don't have to do another round of regenerating the document from the back end. If I can just quickly make a little adjustment here within the document viewer, maybe correct a bit of text or change a font or some styling or coloring, and just kind of directly correct the document, I can save a lot of server and end user time. And to augment this capability of being able to edit PDF documents, we've actually come out with a beta of a docx editing experience as well. So this is leveraging much of the same kind of technology, but it's a little bit more advanced. So here, rather than loading up a PDF document, we've actually loaded up a docx directly. So this isn't converting into PDF or anything like that. This is rather bringing up a docx, and then we can edit it here on the browser. You see, I was able to click on the page, and this is more of a caret-based editing experience where I've got a blinking cursor that I can do things like select blocks of text with, or just kind of directly add new information into. So this docx agreement is made this day, etc., etc. And I can do the same things that I was able to do within the other editor, things like changing the font or the styling, as well as stuff like the alignment and so on. So it's really kind of our first step into having kind of an editing experience based around non-PDF documents as well. So it's something I'd encourage you to try out. You can come to the showcase and give that a try and see if that might expand things out as well for you. And again, the idea here is that we're making it possible to review and correct some of this content here within the browser, rather than having to make the user download that, keep track of that file locally, and keep track of which version they're working on. By integrating it within the overall web experience of your software, you more tightly control both the content and the user's sort of experience in the entire application. Beyond just making annotations or filling out forms, we actually offer deeper editing of PDF documents within the browser as well. Specifically, due to technology that we acquired from Iceni, we're able to detect paragraphs on a PDF page itself and enable the editing directly of that text. So here, for example, we have a sort of PDF text editing walkthrough. As you can see, this document has a lot of existing paragraphs and so on, as well as image content. And we can click on that and start to edit it as a whole paragraph. So we can do things like move this paragraph around, change its size, change the kind of margins within which it's operating, and change the text here as well. So if I click on Edit, I can go in and add new words into this paragraph. So I can say new document content, which is very convenient. So, rather than having to fully regenerate the document, what I can do is just bring it up here inside of WebViewer and directly change that within the viewer, and I can get a sense immediately of what it will actually look like in the end kind of state of things. So, and that counts for images as well. So I can move image content around or resize that or delete it. And I can also add new images. So if I wanted to stamp a new image onto the page or add a new paragraph here directly onto the blank page, I can do so. So that is very useful, I find, when not having to be able to fully download the document and use a third-party native application. Rather, I can just do this kind of editing here inside of the browser. And this also means I don't have to do another round of regenerating the document from the back end. If I can just quickly make a little adjustment here within the document viewer, maybe correct a bit of text or change a font or some styling or coloring, and just kind of directly correct the document, I can save a lot of server and end user time. And to augment this capability of being able to edit PDF documents, we've actually come out with a beta of a docx editing experience as well. So this is leveraging much of the same kind of technology, but it's a little bit more advanced. So here, rather than loading up a PDF document, we've actually loaded up a docx directly. So this isn't converting into PDF or anything like that. This is rather bringing up a docx, and then we can edit it here in the browser. You see, I was able to click on the page, and this is more of a caret-based editing experience where I've got a blinking cursor that I can do things like select blocks of text with, or just kind of directly add new information into. So this docx agreement is made this day, etc., etc. And I can do the same things that I was able to do within the other editor, things like changing the font or the styling, as well as stuff like the alignment and so on. So it's really kind of our first step into having kind of an editing experience based around non-PDF documents as well. So it's something I'd encourage you to try out. You can come to the showcase and give that a try and see if that might expand things out as well for you. And again, the idea here is that we're making it possible to review and correct some of this content here within the browser, rather than having to make the user download that, keep track of that file locally, and keep track of which version they're working on. By integrating it within the overall web experience of your software, you more tightly control both the content and the user's sort of experience in the entire application. So if you'd like to try some of these features out for yourself, please feel free to go to apryse.com and try it out. And if you have any further questions, please click our Contact Sales button to get in touch with our sales team directly. So thanks so much, and we'll be sticking around to answer any questions in this Q&A. Thank you.